pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please, Lori.
Majeski.
Here.
Pittsburgh. Here. Stankin.
Here.
Barnhart.
Here.
Hopefully.
Here.
Hausler. Here. Amberzaitis.
Here.
Gilmore.
Here.
Casco.
Here.
No quorum.
On the agenda for public hearings, we got a strike B. They had called and canceled. So that changes. Everybody's had a chance to look at it. Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion, we approve the Board of Commissioners minutes for January 18th, 2023.
Second. Well, we need to approve the agenda.
Oh, you had to approve the agenda?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as
With
presented, with the changes.
Okay, I'll second.
All right. Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Everybody looked over the. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes? Of the board commission meeting on January 18th.
I'll make that motion.
Motion, you got a second?
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the committee of the whole minutes, can I get a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion, we approve the whole for February 1st. I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? General public comment, got anybody? Any questions or comments on the communications list? Administrator's report.
Okay. As we know, the governor proposed her budget, the 24 budget, which is a approximately 17% increase in county revenue sharing, which it states 17% increase in revenue sharing, but we saw 5% already last year, so it'd be an additional 5 this fiscal year, and then an additional 7% for fiscal year 24. She's also proposed a significant amount of money for juvenile justice programs. And there's been a significant increase to the Michigan Indigent Defense Fund. The compensation standards have also changed, and they've gone from $100 per hour to $118.21 per hour for misdemeanors, $110 an hour to $130.03 per hour for felonies, and $120 an hour to $141.82 per hour for life offenses, which, you know, that is through the Indigent Defense Fund. That does affect our court appointed attorneys, you know, here in-house. For auditors, our almost done, so we've been in their audit since the second week of December. So we've got about another week. And they're, you know, happy with how things are going. There are a couple new layers reporting that we will have to start doing in administration, which will be a bi-weekly payroll changes report and a bi-weekly vendor changes report. And it's any change. A change of address, W-4, any type of change whatsoever. And we're gonna start that March 1st. Jody and Joy and I are putting a plan together for the specifics on that. It's another layer of protection and transparency, you know, for our internal controls. What's happening is there are companies and organizations that have, no, I'm not saying everybody, I'm just saying it's happened. They're creating ghost employees or ghost vendors and setting up the banking and whatnot. So now there's gonna be an additional layer of checks and balances that we're gonna make sure that we start. I'm having a stakeholder meeting soon relative to the opioid settlement dollars, which we've received 160,000, Jenny. And so, and the payments are from 2 different settlements, and it's for the next, these are for the first 5 years. And we don't really know, there's no rhyme or reason how we're getting this, why we're getting it the way that we're getting it, but we have received $160,000. And that has to be put out into the community for, harm reduction, putting protective measures in place for opioid addiction. So we are having a stakeholder meeting soon, and it's going to involve, got our prosecuting attorney, recovery court, our sheriff and undersheriff. We have the health department, and then there's another organization with the hospital that works with opioid addiction that I'm inviting to the stakeholder meeting. I meet with Matt next week to go over the strategic plan prior to the stakeholder meeting. So we're getting closer to having a plan in and a process in place to spend that money. I also would like to say how much I appreciated having the committee of the whole. It was nice to have a multitude of discussion and be able to learn, and you guys learn, and not me having to just constantly getting all of this information and making sure that we know it before we come to the board meetings. So I really appreciated the committee of the whole, and I want to thank you for reestablishing the committee of the whole. And that's all I have for you today.
Thank you. Okay. Eric, you're up. All right. How's our team? You wanna come up? Well, good morning, everybody. I just want to say thank you for allowing us to be here today. And I think that on behalf of myself, our team, and our organization, I think, we show up today with a little bit of heavy hearts with the tragedy that happened on campus. I know we've had to work through a lot of different feelings and emotions, both internally and externally. So I do want to share that. But on a more positive note, I do want to thank, I know there were several administrators and commissioners that attended our new commissioner training. And I think that hopefully you found it to be time well spent. I know it was nice to get to engage with some of the new team here in Clare County. And so just for today, I just wanted to give a couple things. I think one of the things that we're really trying to do at MSU Extension is really focus on outreach, engagement, and communication. I think those are some of those pieces. I think that was one of the many reasons why we wanted to be here today. And so I know this is a brochure that some of you may have had, but if you're not familiar with some of the different programs and services that we offer in Clare, I encourage you to take a second and look through our pamphlet here. It talks about who our staff are in our offices, some of the different things that we have. And then in terms of engagement, there's a report to our partners. I don't know if you are on our email list. If you're not, I would encourage you to do so. It's an opportunity for us to kind of talk about some of the localized programs that are happening, the things that are available to Clare County residents. And so all the different pieces, and we try to keep it updated. Many of our educators have statewide appointments, so they may not physically sit upstairs, but they are providing programming and different things like that for our community and for our stakeholders. And I think it's hopefully you find value in that. If you're not, I would encourage you to reach out, and we can get you added to that list. Kind of likewise, the other packet that I put in there is a 4-H newsletter. These are created monthly by our staff. Miranda Wormskirchen is our 4-H program coordinator. And it talks about the different events that we're doing locally here for the community to be engaged with, for specifically geared towards our youth. And I think these are a really nice platform. They didn't print out quite as friendly as they look on online, but you kind of get the gist of the different activities, the footprints that we're doing locally, and a lot of these partnerships that we're trying to include. And so with that, I also wanted to, many of you know Michelle Neff. We're very fortunate to have Michelle here. She's a wealth of knowledge, and she is the supporting supervising educator of the 4-H program for District 6, and is really doing a great job in terms of communication, helping really kind of revamp some of the areas that we were deficient in, and really kind of helping expand the things that we are excelling in. So, Michelle, you wanna?
Sure, yeah, I'm happy to be here. It feels like it's been a long time since I've seen you guys or come to a board of commissioners meeting. But again, have been with Extension for over 22 years. Happy, love, I'm a passionate Spartan. And just wanted to tell you, thank you for your support over the years. I also wanted to just encourage you to be a part of our event that we have coming up that I have been a part of for over 20 years called Mock Interview Day. You might have, a few of you might have just gotten an email from me. I think Lori did. I know Jenny signed up in the back and the sheriff maybe. But it is where we bring 400 seniors from across Clare, Gladwin, and Isabella County, and they actually get to have an interview with a business professional. They get their resume critique, they get to go to some educational sessions, and we're really helping them get that experience before they actually go out and may have to do their own interview or their own, on their own. And it's a great event. It's one of my favorite events that I've ever done. We haven't had it in 3 years, since 2019 because of COVID. So we're excited to come back. And again, we have over 400 kids coming, and we're looking for more volunteers. So I have a flyer that you can scan and sign up, or if you want to email me, I can email you the link. But I encourage anybody, or if you have community members or professionals like HR directors that are interested in do interviews all the time, we'd love to have more people a part of that event. And you're welcome to just come and observe as well. It is fun. It's at the Mount Pleasant Mid-Michigan College campus. And again, it's a great event to see a lot of our youth attend.
Michelle, looking forward to it.
Okay.
And then, last but certainly not least, we're very fortunate to have Lori Traylor. Lori has been with the organization for at least 20 years. And Lori is district support, but she also is the admin support here in Clare County, and has been in this space for since July of last year, so coming up on a year. So, Lori.
Yeah, I feel like I know some of you because I've seen you on the websites all these years when I'm updating and looking for information. But it's nice to meet you, and I love the new digs. It's really nice in here. I just wanted to talk about Facebook. So one of my duties is to post content on our Clare County MSU Extension Facebook page. So every day I'm posting things that are educational and fun, and there's just so many things that Extension offers. 4-H of course, and then there's agriculture and the business and the community and family and food and health, lawn and garden, natural resources, all that stuff. So every day I'm posting an event, and I try to focus on the things that are happening in Harrison, in Clare County. But also I'm posting things that I think will be of interest to, all of the people. So in the last 2 months, we had 4,859 Facebook page reaches, which I think that's good. That sounds good to me. And I think we passed out the the STEM paperwork, and that was a local event that just happened that Miranda did, and we reached almost 2,500 people with that post, and it was quite successful. And you might recognize some of the kids and people in that, but just want to encourage you, if you're not already, to follow us on Facebook, and you'll see all kinds of content there that is just great.
So, Lori does a great job with that. I think as we kind of continue to explore these different pieces, like I said, communication is key. We're trying to keep, in an educational institution, we're trying to keep up on pace with that. What are these different platforms that we can engage the kids in specifically? What are some of those specific pieces that are gaining more traction? Because then that means we want to invest more time and energy around those different components of that. So we are trying to look at this, evaluate it, and say, okay, this is what the community response is showing us. Let's make sure that we're investing that time and energy in those spaces. Again, I guess unless there are questions, I just want to say thank you for your support. I appreciate being here today and all that you do for MSU Extension.
Thank you.
I have those.
Lori, if there are people that want to join any of these, maybe want to just let me know.
All right.
Like to report to our partners
All right,
for the newsletter.
all right.
Marlene, will you read the veteran soldier relief appointment motion?
To appoint Pete Spitzley to the Clare County Soldiers Relief Committee for a 4-year term.
I'll second it. The motion, we got a second? All in favor? Opposed? Dave, will you take the next motion?
Motion to reappoint Michael Jenkinson Terry Thayer, Scott Owens, Scott Miller, and Bob Meester to the Construction Board of Appeals for a 2-year term.
I'll second it.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Samantha, you take the finance committee motion?
Motion to approve the statutory finance committee meeting minutes of January 23rd, 2023, in the amount of $323,872.47 with a payout of $5,918 to John C. Guthrie due to resignation on February 6, 2023, in the amount of $96,573.96 with a payout to Rebecca Noteboom in the amount of $6,518.30 due to resignation.
Motion, we have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion second. Roll call, please, Larry.
Pittsburgh,
Yes.
Ambrositis,
Yes.
Gilmore,
Yes.
Hausler,
Yes.
Hoefling,
Yes.
Feinhardt,
Yes.
Bankin,
Yes.
Majewski,
Yes.
Haskell.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Bill, you take B?
Sure. To approve the expenditures of the month for January 2023 in the amount of $2,916,472.94 with the general fund expenditures totaling $1,584,648.75.
Motion, we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second. Roll call, please, Larry.
Majewski,
Yes.
Hoefling,
Yes.
Bankin,
Yes.
Feinhardt,
Yes.
Hausler,
Yes.
Ambrositis,
Yes.
Gilmore,
Yes.
Pittsburgh,
Yes.
Haskell.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Dave, you take C?
MGT Consulting Agreement. I make a motion to approve a 2-year extension of the agreement with MGT of America Consulting LLC for providing the county cost allocation plan, which is a requirement for federal awards at the same rate of $7,500 per year.
I'll second it.
Motion second, any discussion? Roll call, please, Larry.
Ambrositis,
Yes.
Hoefling,
Yes.
Hausler,
Yes.
Majewski.
Yes.
Bankin,
Yes.
Gilmore,
Yes.
Feinhardt,
Yes.
Pittsburgh,
Yes.
Haskell.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. George, you take COVID comp time?
Sure. Motion to approve the reporting of COVID comp time retroactively from March 20th, 2020 to current date and forward, be reported as income for all affected employees.
I'll second that.
You have a motion, got a second? Any discussion on that?
The same list that we had before.
Yeah.
It's a very small amount.
Yep.
Got it.
Roll call, please, Larry.
Gilmore,
Yes.
Ambrositis,
Yes.
Pittsburgh,
Yes.
Majewski,
Yes.
Bankin,
Yes.
Feinhardt,
Yes.
Hoefling,
Yes.
Hausler,
Yes.
Haskell.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, Jack, you do board rules?
I move we approve the board rules as amended.
A second.
Jim, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, Lori, you wanted to discuss this next one before we made a motion?
I do. I wanted to discuss the motion. It says that I can move forward with initial steps in the hiring process. And I would like you to revise that to say that I can hire, not take the initial steps. I'm not comfortable posting, interviewing without the approval of hiring. So I have one wrote out, I just jotted down, if you'd like to, I'll read it to you and you can, and then we can discuss it, whether you agree with it or not. Approve the clerk to hire an election coordinator and create an office manager position to promote from within her office to be conditional on the local townships and or city clerks entering into an intergovernmental agreement to pay for these positions. So that makes it conditional upon them saying they will pay for it, then you're not stuck paying for a position if they decide they don't want to do the consolidated elections. That's the only reason I'm doing this. If I don't do the consolidated elections, I don't need to hire another person and promote someone from within.
Has there been agreements throughout the townships that they?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you right.
Has there been agreements from each township that they wanna do this?
Verbal agreements, but they have to take it before their boards. They can't speak on behalf of their boards. I did hear from Samantha this morning that one of her townships is not on board with it, but that clerk hasn't talked to me about it. We haven't discussed it.
And Lori and I are working on intergovernmental agreements right now.
Mhm.
Together.
So I'm asking, I'm sorry, George, go ahead.
As I said, both of the townships that I have are in favor of it, but their concern was how they're going to be charged. They thought if everyone paid an equal amount, it would be a good idea, because it's gonna cost each agency same amount to keep their 9 days, whether they have one person show up to vote or 2,000 show up to vote. So if each precinct paid the same amount, they were both in favor of it. They thought it sounded like a great idea.
And that's totally up to the commissioners, how they want to distribute the cost. I gave you a couple scenarios. I did hear from another township official that said maybe start with a minimum for everyone and then add by population onto that. So that's another scenario.
So this will be an additional cost to the townships on top of what they already would pay for their elections that they hold.
Yes.
Sure.
Because of the 9 days of early voting. So they're going to pay that, whether they pay it to the county or they pay it to their own election and run it themselves. So it's an additional cost either way. This way, it's a cost savings overall. In the presentation I gave, and I had a suggestion to do a PowerPoint, and I really wanted to, but I just didn't have time to do it. Countywide, I should come out here, sorry. Countywide, I estimate it to cost $400,000 for the 9 days of early voting. That's not election day. That's the 9 days of early voting for 2024, because we have 3 state and federal elections in 2024. The presidential primary, the August primary, and the November general. So, and I estimate the cost to be, I think it was $7,000 per township to run the 9 days of early voting.
The equally divided cost?
Equally, no, that's just, yeah, that is one of the,
What their cost would be.
Right.
and that's based on how many elections we have in the
But you're
year.
talking county clerk's cost.
No, that's, I estimate it would cost each township a little over $7,000 to run per election for the 9 days of early voting. Then they have their normal costs that they always have for election day. So this is additional. So I estimate in 2024, it will cost the townships 12 townships and cities as a whole, $400,000. If I run the elections for all of them, it's estimated to be, I think I said 89,000 for all 3 elections in 2024. And that's early voting, 9 days, and they run the election on election day. I can do it so much cheaper because I'm doing 7 employees for 9 days. They're each doing 3 to 5 or more employees each day of the 9 days. That's why it's significantly cheaper if we consolidate and I run the election. I don't want to take this on. My initial knee-jerk reaction was, no way, I'm not doing that. But then as we discussed it as a group, it was overwhelming for the clerks. Several clerks have said they will resign. They didn't sign up for this.
How fast do you plan on filling this position?
Immediately. And that's my push, because I estimate it's gonna take 6 weeks to 2 months to get someone in place. If there's someone out there interested in the position, I have to post internally for the union. After I get the job description and the intergovernmental agreements and all that, I think I can move forward without the intergovernmental agreements with interviews, just not hire until we have it. So it's gonna take a month after we get the agreements prepared to get them signed, because the boards, we have to allow a full month for the townships and the cities. I have to post it internally, I have to advertise it, I have to interview. I always do a second interview, I never hire on a first interview. Then that person, if they have a job, has to give at least 2 weeks' notice to their employer. So you're talking 6 to 8 weeks from now before I could even actually put someone in place.
Laura, so let's say you hire this person and you have quite a few townships that opt out. What happens to that cost of that person to the townships that want to participate? Does it
Their
go up?
costs would go up, and it would be in the intergovernmental agreement. We have to, I have a bunch of notes to go over with Lori for that. So it's going, the cost is gonna be based on who participates. And they know that before they sign the agreement. So if everybody says, you know what, no, there's only 6 of us gonna do it, the cost is too high.
You've got some of these smaller townships that can't even absorb if everybody was involved with it.
Right? But it's gonna cost them more if they don't participate, because they're gonna run it on their own.
Shouldn't we get the department agreements before we even start looking to hire, see who's gonna, I was at that meeting last night too, and it sounded like their clerk wasn't in favor of it at all. So I don't know how many other clerks are like that. Should we get to find out, get the verbal agreement or written agreement that they're willing to do this?
Before we actually hire, yes,
Yes,
but
I mean-
I'm looking for approval from you to hire with that condition. So when I'm hiring someone, I can, and I'm interviewing, I can say, yes, I've got 17 clerks that are going to sign this agreement, it is going to go through. And I can hire you versus, well, no, I don't have board approval to hire you, but will you take a day off of work and come and interview with me? On a position that may or may not be.
Yeah, this person has to be in place by next year for the election.
This person needs to be in place last year for this election.
Right, but
There's a lot of training.
what worries me is a lot of the townships potentially not knowing what it's gonna cost them, so how do they budget?
Well, they budget based on their election day. And times 10.
But
If
if
it's
you
their
don't,
election day, 10 days.
but if you don't know how much your cost is gonna be if certain townships don't participate.
We all know our costs. We have to budget it in. I
Tammy,
have to
I
have my
agree.
budget done by April 1st.
Okay.
So at my workshop, I have it all figured out what my elections are. Our federal elections, our presidential primary, we do get reimbursed for that. And then we'll have to discuss, do we all submit our own reimbursement for that, for the non-age early voting, because we're paying for it? Or do you, are
We can discuss that later.
Yeah,
How
I mean,
that
there's a
goes.
lot, right, there's a lot to it.
So are you in favor of consolidated voting?
I'm in favor of it for Grant Township. I've talked with my board and, we've talked to our commissioner. He came to our meeting and yeah, it will be a cost savings for Grant,
I don't.
but we're in favor of equal,
Both these would work out, no issue.
because we all have to hire
I
7
just got one
people,
question.
or 5 people, I'm sorry. You have to have 5 people to run an election now, because of curbside voting.
You have to have 2 people to go out.
And you have to have 3
Well,
people
2
remain in
people
the building
remain in
at
the
all
building.
times.
Yeah, 3 in the building at all times.
For 8 hours for 9 days.
Yes.
Actually 9, half hour before you have to be there by law.
So 9 hours for 9 days straight. 5 people.
Plus
did,
election.
Cost per town.
Did you find anything out of your conference?
It's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow and Friday, and I can call each of you, or I can, send an email with an update on what, an overview of what they said. But my urgency is, I'm programming the May election now. I do fully expect to have a November election. We're gonna start on the February election in July or August, for the February election. So, and I need to hire election inspectors, train election inspectors, in addition to doing everything else election related and everything else in my job. So that's my urgency, there's a vast amount of work involved in training. If I get someone that knows what they're doing, great. I'm trying to talk one of my current employees into if it's approved taking that position. They're not wanting it.
This
No.
person would only be for the elections.
No, the majority of the time they will be doing elections, but if there is a lull, they would be doing office work in my office.
Lori, what's your timeline to getting interdepartment agreements, the agreements signed?
I would say, by the end of March, because some of the townships have already met this month. By the time we get it completed, we're gonna need the whole month of March for all of the townships and cities to get them approved by their boards.
So we have 2 weeks to get them done, to get them to the townships if they wanna
Right,
move forward. And then they would go to their boards and then.
so then you're talking, if you don't approve it today, and you're waiting on that, then you're talking the April meeting before you'll even approve it, and then I start the process. And,
Because we wouldn't have all the intergovernmental agreements back by the March meeting, probably.
So how many townships have conditionally said that they're gonna support this?
I haven't spoken to all of them, I would say 12 that I've spoken with.
But what is the cut line, how many you need to move forward financially?
There is no cut line for me. It's up to them how much they're, it's gonna be the time and the election inspectors and the cost. It's not all about cost to the townships. They are, in my opinion, they are not gonna be able to find 5 people to work 9-10 days. So you would have to have 15 people and piece them here and there. So I think the biggest hurdle for the townships and the cities is going to be finding election inspectors that work. Deb and Tammy, do you struggle now with 1 day of voting on getting election inspectors?
We do, because Hayes Township has 2 precincts.
Right, every election, I have clerks scrambling. Someone can't make it, someone has COVID, someone's sick, someone's mother died, they can't work, we need workers, where can we get workers? And I keep a list for them to call. So that's gonna be their biggest hurdle if they run it on their own.
And we have to have it balanced with political parties too, so that makes it even harder.
So you will not pull the trigger on hiring them until you have all the agreements that, from the townships
Right,
that
if I have your approval today, I will start the process. But I won't, I'll tell whoever I interview, I can't hire until, say, April 1st. Actually hire. But I can have everything done, knowing you've already approved it, and they're on board, we just need their signatures, and I can have someone in place by April 1st.
I will say I was at the MTA meeting this month, and all the townships that were heavily in favor of this,
Okay,
so
do you estimate how many townships were there?
between 6 and 8, the
Okay.
townships were there.
Yeah.
The townships I've talked to, they're really kind of confused about it, what has happened. And I understand that because I kind of am,
Right.
And I think it's just a case of when they decide that something has to be done and face the fact that it isn't just gonna go away. They're gonna have to sign on to this because the townships that I've been in contact with, they just don't have the staff and they just don't have the people. You go to a township meeting, there's nobody in the audience, are they? And, finding the help. But they ask, what's gonna be the cost? Well, we haven't decided that yet. Well, we need to know the cost before we can say yes, but did you have a clerk's meeting since,
Yes, we've had 2 clerk meetings since the passing.
where
of
you've
the
explained
statute.
this to them, right?
Yes, and for
Were
what's
they,
the
was
case.
there pretty good attendance there?
There is, we probably get 3/4, over half of the clerks that come. Some of them can't, they have prior obligations, we have the same night every month, so that they can work their schedule to try to get everyone here.
Well, see, the meeting, no, it's not that they don't care about it, but they weren't at the clerk's meeting, so it was just like, what are you really talking about? That's the sense I kind of got. But I think that no doubt about it that they're going to sign on. If there's some that want to do it themselves, they can do it, but
I'm going to urge all the clerks not to do that because it would be confusing to the voters to have 15 townships voting early at the county and then 3 sporadic somewhere else. So I will reach out to anyone that wants to discuss
but,
it.
Go ahead.
it's a constitutional amendment. It's a
Correct.
forever law.
Correct.
So it's not gonna be, can we get through it one time? and
Correct.
then, I think that when people realize what's going on, they're going to be signing on.
I agree.
So what happens, say you got 2 townships that won't sign up, so when we're doing early voting, and there are people that come from the townships, do you reject their votes, or do you
I
have
have
to
to
take them?
send them to their township because I won't have their ballots.
Okay.
Mhm. Right.
Lori, you said you had a different resolution that you wanted us to read?
A different motion,
Yeah.
yes. And then I just wanted to kind of update you on Bureau of Elections. We got we get a news update. That's how they communicate with us. We got a news update day before yesterday that says, went over a whole bunch of the changes with proposal 2022. And they basically said, we're not prepared. We don't have the prepaid postage in place. We don't have the permanent absentee voter application in place. We don't have, our qualified voter file isn't ready for this. They're saying, you do it all your way and then we'll reimburse you as you go. So now, instead of having all that prepaid stuff ready, now the townships will have to pay for for the May election. All of it goes into effect for the May election, except for the early voting, because it's only federal and state elections. So they have to postage when they mail an application for a ballot out, they have to postage an envelope for the voter to send it back. When they mail the ballot out, they have to postage that return ballot to come back because the state isn't prepared. So I don't have high hopes for my meeting tomorrow.
I almost think these motions are pretty much the same, except for what's the office manager part?
The office
that I
manager
didn't know.
part is, my goal is to redistribute in my office, the workload, so the.
Who's hiring one person?
Only hiring one person.
So,
And that's why I said in the revision, it specifically says to promote from within. That way there's no misunderstanding that I said, well, you said I could hire an office manager. No, I have to promote from within. So I will give the election job is huge. It's absolutely huge. So I will give some of the election coordinator will have the bulk of it, but then we will redistribute some to the office manager, to Stacy, and to myself. So there essentially be 4 of us working full-time on elections. Well,
So,
you know what I mean?
so promote an office manager, that will get a pay increase.
I'm
What-
sorry?
So when you promote an office manager, that includes a pay increase?
Yes, and that's included in the cost to the townships.
Okay,
It's an additional, I believe, $3,000 a year.
Good.
Just over $3,000 a year
Mhm.
to take on the additional work. If you don't approve that, then, the additional work will be distributed and no pay increase and,
Lori, I have a question. Just to clarify, the office manager would be, or would it be Stacy's position to hire and oversee, the election workers?
with the office manager, the office manager would have no hiring and firing, capabilities whatsoever like Stacy does.
Okay,
Her position is totally separate, different. Stacy is essentially me.
but the office manager would oversee the election inspectors?
Right.
Okay,
Right.
that's what I was getting at
Yes.
as far as unit 1 or unit 2 or.
And we need someone there to oversee the employees, and that's the office manager, a supervisory unit. Because the election coordinator, to save costs, I put them in the lower wage, unit, so that
You might have to tweak all this before it
Right,
happens
yeah, right,
anyway, so I'm okay with that motion if everybody else is, even though they're about the same thing, because it's all contingent. If none of the township signed up, it would be viewpoint anyway,
The
so.
only difference is this one does not have office
But
manager
manager,
in it.
and that's just a reworking.
And that one says.
I'm
I
sure it's
think-
gonna have to be tweaked 100 times before it's done anyway.
My question was, how many of the townships do we need to make that plan viable?
That's why I think it's gonna have
That's-
to continually be.
Well, it
tweaked.
just depends on, so if only 5 sign up, then the cost is gonna be greater to the 5, and they're gonna have to decide whether it's worth it to them or not. And if it's not, then there's no position, no promotion.
So it is truly conditional on.
Truly
intergovernmental
conditional.
agreements with townships.
So you already have your
Minimum
in
number,
cost, you know what it's gonna
but
take,
how
they just got, you already have your in cost, know what it's gonna take to do this.
Correct,
They just gotta find how many townships wanna do it.
correct,
And
not
for
how
willingness.
much it'll cost each township and city.
The
Correct.
more, the lower the
Lower
cost.
cost,
The
exactly.
less, the higher the cost. And at some point, they're gonna say, that's not good enough
Mhm.
for us. And then they'll back out of the agreement.
And
I'm still not clear on how you're charging them. I think you have to decide whether it's gonna be equally or whether it's gonna be by population. And you have to make that decision before you can even send out an agreement.
correct, so I would propose we finalize this and then move to that, because that would be a separate motion too. And then decide, and then the clerks or the boards, the township boards and city, township and city boards can decide whether they like that option or not and agree with it.
So we're gonna discuss payment schedule after we're done with this motion.
I would like to, because we can't do the intergovernmental agreement until we know how to charge them.
I think that's a good idea.
I'd like to make, that motion. I motion to approve Blair County Clerk to hire an election coordinator and create an office manager position to promote from within her office, to be conditional on the local township and or city clerks entering into an intergovernmental agreement to pay for these positions.
Oh, I probably, they have to do a roll call.
We got a motion? Anybody gonna second?
I'll second.
Motion, we got a second? We're not gonna discuss it anymore. Roll call, please.
Hoagland,
Yes.
Pittsburgh,
Yes.
Gilmore,
Yes.
Bankin,
Yes.
Majewski,
Yes.
Reinhardt,
Yes.
Hausler,
Yes.
Ambrositis,
Yes.
Pascal,
Yes.
motion carried.
And
Thank you.
to start off this next discussion. If by chance, the federal government, because they're requiring this much more time, is gonna pay for a portion of this. I still think it would be good to condense it just for part of saving money.
Absolutely.
That would also make the townships, part of that go down also.
And I believe that will happen. I
So
don't
there's a
know if
ton of
it'll happen
variables
before
we
twenty
can
twenty-four.
even Figure that out.
And that's a portion of the intergovernmental, what the intergovernmental agreement will say, if the state kicks in, then that will reduce their
So
portion.
it's state, not federal.
Okay, you
Yes,
said that, I thought it was the federal election
No,
for
it's state.
It's state.
It's the state, it's a state constitutional change for
with,
state and federal elections. That's where the federal comes in.
so this being said,
The feds aren't gonna.
No, the state will probably kick in.
we're just taking the cost and dividing it by how many townships, cities, and us are included in this. Correct?
Not us.
No? Okay, we're not doing
Because-
any of that.
We don't have to do it.
Okay.
We're doing it for them. So, yeah, we're not taking on any
All right.
portion of it.
But if there's reimbursement would go directly to the townships.
Correct.
And that would be taken off from the bill.
Right.
So. Who would help pay for it?
Pardon me?
Who would help pay for it?
Yes.
So the township gets reimbursed by the state for this election.
If they
It's not
do,
an
yes.
aid. It just helps them pay the county for the
Correct.
consolidated election.
And I assume they would have to fill out, a reimbursement to show what their costs are and submit that. They're gonna have a lot more costs than just the 9 days of voting.
Is there any chance the rules could be changed?
No, it's in our constitution.
Well, the Secretary of State set the rules somewhat, didn't they, on how the procedures are gonna be?
Not yet,
Okay.
not
But
yet.
did the Constitution completely lay all this out? And how many inspectors? The Secretary of State did, right?
Well, the election law says how many inspectors, and election law says a minimum of 3 at all times in the building. You
So
can't,
there won't be any changes after we put this in place where you're gonna need this or. you're not gonna
there won't be changes to the Constitution, there could be changes to election law. So. 2 different,
Okay,
yeah, so. It's hard to say.
yeah.
So like minimum, that's one of the election laws, minimum number of election inspectors, they could change that.
You know, I don't know if it'd make everybody happy, but it just seems like if it's based on population or whatever, that just sounds like kind of a nightmare. You're pretty well gonna have to charge everybody equal, aren't you?
I think charging equally would be the simplest. The easiest way to do it.
It'd be the fairest, wouldn't it? Because everybody has almost the same cost.
Depends on who you talk to, I guess.
Do you need that as a motion, Lori?
I believe it should be a motion.
Cost by population, you know, Arthur would be paying a significantly larger amount than Grant per election.
Right.
But if we divided it equally, obviously everybody pays equally.
But you never know how many people are
It's gonna
gonna come and
cost
go.
everybody the same dollars.
Correct.
Well, it's gonna
Right.
cost everybody, it's gonna at least have to have 5 people, 9 days.
Right, so I mean,
Right.
So
pretty
Either
much the
one
same
person
cost
shows
spread
up
out.
or
Regardless how
500.
much population you have.
Right.
Right, so it doesn't matter the population, but we're gonna have to hire the people, so the fairest way to do it, split it amongst all the townships.
If you need it as a motion, I would move that each jurisdiction pay an equal amount.
You making that motion?
Yes.
Got a motion?
I'll second it.
Motion second. Roll call,
Can you
please.
give me 1 second to break
Nope.
that motion
Roll
down?
call now.
3 seconds.
Okay. And it was George was first and who made the second?
Rick.
Majeski,
Yes.
Fitchburg,
Yes.
Bankin,
Yes.
Kleinhardt,
Yes,
Hoagland,
Yes.
Hausler,
Yes.
Ambrositis,
Yes.
Gilmore,
Yes.
Pascal.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you very much. Sorry it was so long.
It has to be talked about.
Is that your report?
Yes.
Okay. Jenny.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I sat on your. I set on all of your desks, my reports, the monthly reports that I give you. There's not, much new except for at this time of year, previously we used to need a tax anticipation note to get us through until the taxes started coming back in July. And we've been working to, not have that, so, we have a positive fund balance right now. We had to put in order to keep our investments in, we had to appropriate from our tax funds. And new this year, the commissary fund, plus we've been using, our funding to offset expenses, so we've used that for the general fund. This year, I'm sure most of you are familiar, but, your townships right now are collecting what's called current tax. And everyone has until February 28th to pay those taxes, and then they get turned over to us delinquent. And so the county, through the revolving funds, upfronts all of the delinquent money to all of the notice entities so they can operate for the rest of the year. So we're in the process, all of our deadlines are February 28th as well, so we have 3 tax deadlines coming up on February 28th, so we're really busy right now getting that money paid back into the revolving fund. And then in March, we are going through the settlement period again, so we can start it all over. I don't know if you guys know that whole process. I could, put a PowerPoint together so you could see that. And then one other note, I had an employee move and took the position downstage. So, Lori told me I have to go ahead and post. I haven't done that yet.
All of that is in my budget. I don't know if I need a formal motion to hire, if it's in my budget, to go ahead and do that. My chief deputy, after many, many years, is going to retire at some point this year. So, I'm also at some point going to put something together too. When here she is. That's it for me. Anyone have any questions?
Jenny, can I ask you, I was gone for a couple of years here. Did they ever get that god awful leak in your roof fixed?
They did after 9 years. It was 9 years and
I
then
know
it
we're gonna have a north wind with rain, and that used to be when it soaked you down.
Yeah.
So they
yes.
got it fixed,
We have
no more leaks?
pictures, black garbage bags and 55-gallon trash.
It wasn't the roof, it was the substrate of the, porousness of the brick veneer up on the second floor. So there's a plate behind it that's supposed to get any moisture that goes in and bring it down through the weep holes onto the roof. And when it rained and there was a wind, it would go into those porous bricks and it would go behind the plate instead of into the plate. It would go behind it and then go down and then right into her office. So
Wow.
they fixed
I
it.
did it
There's
for
a
9
nice
years, but
company.
then I got it figured out, so that was a blessing. It's been a blessing.
I thought they was gonna have to put a hip drop over this place, I'll tell you, it just wouldn't end.
For sure, for sure. But yes, that is wonderful. It is fixed.
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. Okay. My report. I'd like to cover something that was just said that I don't know, maybe the new commissioners need to hear. But it was when I first got on this board, if you had somebody leave and that person was already in your budget, you did not have to come to the board because that person was already approved. You could hire that person immediately after that. So that's why that was said that she didn't, because she already had it in the budget, we already approved it, so. And also, Dale, he's a big shooter now at the health department, he's the chair of that board, so. I thought that was pretty cool. If you got any questions, they go to him. Month of December, the state average for unemployment was 4.3%, and Clare County was at 6.2%. But actually, that was lower unemployment than the previous year, so that was a good thing. And in December, Clare County filled 43 jobs, which I thought was quite high from what they had comparably been filling also, so that was a good sign. And speaking of the opioid money, Michigan Works also gets quite a bit of that. Did you think to include them in
I did
your
not.
meeting?
I did not.
Maybe Mark would wanna sit in on that also.
Okay.
Because they have a lot to do with offender success, inmates coming out of jail, that kind of thing, so they may have some ideas on what that money could be used for also for our area.
All right, thank you.
And that's all I got. Dale?
Just attended my meetings, everything seems to be going pretty good out there. Loving the weather, probably until tomorrow, but, crazy, that's all. Now everything.
All right, Marlene?
Well, I've only attended, one township meeting since the committee of the whole, and the people in the audience are for the consolidated elections. So that's, other than that, everything else is going pretty smooth.
David?
I have a little bit of, first of all my townships were in favor of the, election consolidation, so I'm sure they will be pleased to hear that that passed. In Franklin Township, there was discussions about the, fire contract changes and, talks about the airport board future. They were curious where that was going, and I know we're gonna be talking about that later in the meeting. I attended my first LEPC and 911 advisory board meetings. I look forward to working with those two new boards. Summerfield did their yearly resolutions. Nothing really different happened there. Hamilton, they had two vendors come in for a renewal of the garbage contract. They also discussed the fire contract changes. And they were thinking about offering situational awareness trainings. So they're in the process of figuring that out. They're gonna possibly open it up to people who are not in their township as residents to attend as well. And those sessions will be free of cost. They're just in the initial stages right now, so there's still a little work to be done on that. I also attended the MTA meeting, as I stated earlier, and they had their 9th district representative for their statewide MTA there, and he introduced himself and talked about the different things that the MTA can do for the townships, and we had a discussion about the election consolidation as well, and they were all in favor of that. That's all I have.
Thanks, David. Samantha?
Attended my meeting, and said Surrey Township was, I don't know if she just had to figure some more stuff out or not. It was a nice discussion.
Good. Gabe?
Oh, yes, so I obviously attended my meeting in Hayes Township, and around the departments I've been making around, so learning from them, and more to follow on that. That's all.
Good. George?
Both my townships are in favor of consolidated voting, and neither one of them are happy with the road commission, so. Other than that,
Okay. Jack?
Well, I attended a couple of township meetings and there was talk about the gravel roads too. In fact, I almost got stuck getting to one the other night. But anyway, there, a little bit, I think we'll get this cleared up on the elections, and I think that people are gonna join up, so. Other than that, that's about it.
Rick?
No, I didn't make it to meetings. I thought I needed vacation at that time, so.
There you go.
Next month.
Did you have fun?
Sure did.
Good deal. Okay. State of the county budget, I think, by looking at our handouts here.
I gave you, that's the cash,
Mhm.
but I gave you a rundown in my administrator notes where we are budget wise. So after the 4th month into the fiscal year, the expenditures and percentage would theoretically be at 33.33% expended. And at this time, we're at 30.25% expended. In addition, we have had big expenses that we have already paid through the year instead of making smaller payments, workman's comp, such items like that. As far as revenues, only 16.5% of revenues have come in, which is normal at this time. The taxes that come in pay the funds right now, and then the general operations this summer, and then usually we don't get the majority of our revenue until the summer. So I will continue to monitor and keep you updated as the year progresses.
Any public comment?
Just a quick point,
John Marion. You gotta state your name for Laura.
I'm sorry, John Marion, H Township.
Just come right up front.
Just two general comments. Number one, this is the first time I've been in this meeting room, and I don't know what was done to accommodate additional hearing, but I can't hear half of what's going on in this meeting.
And we're working on that. You're not the only one that's brought that up, so.
Now, I happen to be hearing impaired, I wear hearing aids, I've turned them up. All I do is I get amplified background noise every time somebody wrinkles a piece of paper or something. But you can't hear what's going on in here half the time from a majority of the commissioners. No offense intended, everybody needs to speak up and enunciate, because you don't know what's going on half the time. The other thing I wanna point out real quick, I've been an election inspector now, lost count, I think I've been through 5 elections. The clerks are gonna have a huge challenge recruiting volunteers to staff these elections. This is gonna be nuts. It's bad enough election day, working a 16-hour plus day. Now you're gonna ask me to do 9 hours for 9 days? Jeez.
Right.
You know, now, it wasn't your fault. You know, it was the state election that passed this nonsense. And it's sad that it wasn't presented properly so everybody really understood the ramifications of it. It wasn't about voter ID. That wasn't the whole point. Everybody missed the boat on what was really written into the rest of that, and that's sad, but if they don't do the consolidated thing, I don't see how these townships are gonna be able to handle that. I really don't see how it's gonna happen. I'm sorry. You know, it's gonna be, I don't know, I don't even know what the fallout will be when the townships can't come up with the people to do this. They're gonna be in default of something, and then I don't know where the ramification on that goes, but I think we're moving in the right direction, and we're following the lead of the most experienced person in the room. And I think that's something that needs to be followed. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay.
We've got another
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm Tammy Teal, Grant Township, and I just wanna kind of clarify, earlier someone had stated that some of the clerks are confused and don't know. We have a monthly meeting, and I'm here to tell you, I go to hardly any of them. But I do get my knowledge, because my work schedules are crazy, but, I have a direct line to Lori, everybody does, she gave everybody her cell phone number. I call her on Sunday, she answers the phone or returns my call. And she sends us emails all the time from her staff about what's going on with everything. So for you not to have knowledge, you're not looking where it's coming from, because I just want you to know, we are getting there. So just wanted to clarify that.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, unfinished business.
We need to have 2 additional commissioners on the airport board. For statute. And I will read it in here. Okay. The statute is actually Act 90 of 1913, 123.66A, County Airport Committee Appointment Powers and Organization. So here's, in layman's term, county-owned airports are run by 3-person county airport committees. The committee members are appointed by the county board and are either county board members or county road commissioners. So we need 2 more, however you wanna do it. But we have to have a board or a committee for the airport, and so that they can get moving on the direction that we're gonna go with the airport. We've been funding the airport with the sale of lots and, you know, the profit we get. But it's not gonna happen after this year. The county's gonna have to put some money into, appropriate money from the general fund in the airport.
How many road commissioners are on?
You have to do, there are no road commissioners on, you have to have
What's
3.
that?
How many road commissioners are on?
No, it's an or, it's either we do 3 county or,
But can you do a road commissioner or 2 and 1 county commissioner?
according to what the law says, it's a strict or, it's either 3 of us or it's 3 of them.
It's pretty specific.
Cause I asked that same question, can we mix and match? And according to statute, it says 3 of them or 3 of us.
So we need 2 more commissioners to step up and take the airport committee.
I'll do it.
Will do it, David?
I will too.
Rick?
Yep.
Awesome. Perfect, thank you. Okay,
Got one question on that.
don't make it too hard.
Okay, is that the total consistency of the board, or as we move forward with this, do we bring any local officials in on it also? As far as city, Hayes Township people attached to it or near it?
According to this, it does not say that. But I think that we could explore that in the future to see if that potential exists. I would not want to exclude Hayes Township or the city of Harrison, because obviously we are, very close in that regard with the county airport. But as the statute says, it's just us three. I think that if we look at it in the future as an airport authority or rekindle the agreement that we had in the past, but I think that's a future discussion. I think that we need to move forward with the three of us to try to resurrect that airport. If we cannot do anything now, that airport, as Lori's already explained, we're gonna run out of funding at the end of this year. And
Yes.
then we're gonna be in a worse spot than we are now. So,
One question. Okay, we got no new business. No closed session. I